Hey, Cowboys Nation! Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the latest, straight from the heart of Cowboys country. Let's face it, this season has been a roller coaster, and the Cowboys are at a crucial point, reflecting and pushing to improve in every way possible. They know what's at stake, and they're putting in the work to turn things around. But before we jump into the hot news that's been making waves today, take a second to like this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're here to keep you in the loop with all things Dallas Cowboys, and every like and subscribe helps us bring you more great content. Alright, let's get into it. It's the day after another tough game for our Cowboys, and the 2024 season is looking murkier than we'd hoped. Coming off a rough loss to the San Francisco 49ers, the Cowboys now sit at 3-4, and fans are starting to wonder, can we turn this around? As if the loss wasn't enough, the latest NFL news has thrown some salt into Cowboys Nation's wounds. In a season where the Cowboys front office has already taken heat for a more passive approach to building the team, these recent developments sting a little extra. While other teams, like the Kansas City Chiefs, are making moves to stack their roster, our front office seems content to stand pat, sticking with the guys they've got. This conservative approach is frustrating for fans, especially when it feels like other teams are doing everything they can to go all in. The trade that made headlines: Chiefs snag edge Joshua Uche for just a sixth-rounder. One of the biggest pieces of news to come out this week was the Chiefs' trade for edge rusher Joshua Uche from the New England Patriots. They snagged him for nothing more than a sixth-round pick, a bargain for a player of his caliber. Just last week, the Chiefs also landed DeAndre Hopkins, giving quarterback Patrick Mahomes another weapon. Seeing these aggressive moves from a team that's already a top contender is frustrating when compared to the Cowboys, who've been cautious, to say the least. When we look back at our last game, one of the glaring issues was the comfort level 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy enjoyed in the pocket. He was barely under any pressure, and when a quarterback is given that much time, it's hard to expect the defense to hold up. Without key players like Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Marshawn Kneeland, the pass rush was almost non-existent. The Cowboys generated only 11 pressures, far from enough to shake a confident offense. So, what was the Cowboys' response to this depth issue on defense? They picked up K.J. Henry from the Bengals practice squad. And while Henry is a solid player, he's not the high-impact, game-changing edge rusher the team might have needed to elevate their pass rush. Meanwhile, they also continue to deal with injuries on the offensive side, with Brandon Cooks currently on injured reserve. Despite these glaring gaps, the front office is reluctant to make any big moves to bolster the roster. It's as if they're hoping to ride it out, waiting for things to magically click into place. This cautious approach by the Cowboys management has been a point of contention for years. Fans have been vocal, calling for the addition of a solid running back and a strong WR2 to support the offense. Yet, when free agency rolled around, Jerry and Stephen Jones opted to stick with their "we like our guys" mantra. They chose to double down on their current roster rather than take chances on adding high-impact players from outside. This would be a defensible position if the results were there, but so far, they haven't been. The Cowboys have lost 4 games this season, and in each of those games, they trailed by 17 points or more. That's not the kind of performance that inspires confidence in fans, especially when the front office seems unwilling to explore changes to address these issues. In fact, the Chiefs' aggressive moves have highlighted the Cowboys' approach even more. Kansas City, which has one of the lowest salary caps in the league according to Over the Cap, still found ways to bring in talented players. Yes, they'll have to face some salary cap issues down the line, but they're taking a win-now approach. The Cowboys, on the other hand, seem to be preparing for future seasons, possibly prioritizing financial stability over current success. On Monday, after another embarrassing loss, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones spoke on the situation in an interview with 105.3 The Fan. Jerry Jones had already stated he's confident in the current roster and doesn't expect any significant moves before the trade deadline. Stephen's response, unfortunately, did little to ease fans' frustrations. Jones's comments felt like a lot of word salad, vague, non-committal statements that didn't offer much insight into the team's plans or vision. He mentioned, "This team is made up of many of the same players who won 12 games in recent seasons. Now, we're just going through adversity." He added that the team has had its share of injuries, especially on defense, but ultimately reiterated that they believe in the guys they have. Now, while it's true that adversity and injuries play a role, it's hard for fans to accept this as the sole reason for the team's struggles. The issues the Cowboys are facing aren't just about injuries or unlucky breaks. The lack of depth, the inability to make big plays, and the lack of adaptability on both sides of the ball have been recurring themes. Fans are asking for tangible solutions, not just reassurances that things will get better. With the trade deadline approaching, fans are left wondering if the Cowboys front office will finally make a move to bolster the roster or if they'll remain passive. Right now, it feels like they're playing the waiting game, hoping for key players to return from injury and the current roster to find its groove. But waiting isn't enough in the NFL. Other teams are actively building, strategizing, and evolving. Just as we saw with Kansas City, teams that want to win are taking action, even if it means making tough decisions with cap space or draft picks. So, what does this mean for the Cowboys going forward? The team still has time to turn the season around, but it's going to require a shift in mentality. The players on the field are giving their all, but the support from management needs to be there too. The Cowboys need to be proactive, especially in addressing issues like the pass rush and the lack of depth in the receiver core. The news broke on Monday. Sam Williams, who was drafted by the Cowboys in the second round of the 2022 NFL Draft out of Ole Miss, is facing a 3-game suspension for off-field conduct issues dating back to last year. According to reports, this stems from a reckless driving incident in 2023 that involved possession charges. Williams was arrested for possession of THC, as well as carrying a weapon illegally. Coach Mike McCarthy spoke on the situation last year, calling it a wake-up call for Williams and expressing belief in his potential, even highlighting that Williams has shown growth on and off the field since then. Unfortunately, Sam Williams won't be able to serve this suspension on the field. He's currently on injured reserve after suffering an ACL tear during training camp. It's a major setback for a young player who had high hopes of contributing in his third season, especially as a valuable depth piece behind star pass rushers Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. Williams' suspension became effective starting with Sunday's Week 8 game against the San Francisco 49ers and will carry through to Week 10, where the Cowboys face off against the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be eligible to return to the roster on November 11th, after that showdown with Philly. However, since he's out for the season due to his ACL injury, he won't be back on the field until 2025. With Sam Williams out of the picture for the rest of the season, it's a blow to our pass rush depth. Despite limited playing time since joining Dallas, Williams has made a solid impact in his appearances. Across 32 games in his first 2 seasons, he's racked up 8.5 sacks, 48 tackles, 16 quarterback hits, and forced 2 fumbles. These are impressive numbers for someone who hasn't been a consistent starter and highlights his potential to become a defensive powerhouse. This season, the Cowboys' pass rush has faced its share of challenges. Both Parsons and Lawrence have dealt with injuries, and rookie Marshawn Kneeland, another pass-rushing prospect, is also on injured reserve. These setbacks have left the Cowboys with a thinner defensive line than expected, making Williams' absence even more impactful. Let's talk about the numbers. Last season, Dallas was ranked high in terms of sacks, finishing the year with 46 sacks across the board. Through the first 7 games of this season, however, the Cowboys have only managed 16 sacks. This drop-off is significant, and the lack of pressure on opposing quarterbacks has made things harder for our secondary and linebackers. With no Williams and others on the bench nursing injuries, the Cowboys will need to dig deep to find the pass-rushing edge that helped drive their defensive success last season. When it comes to players with off-field issues, it's always tough for a coach to balance belief in a player's potential with accountability. Coach Mike McCarthy has been vocal about his support for Sam Williams, both when he was initially drafted and after his run-in with the law. McCarthy expressed confidence in Williams, saying, "Whenever you make a mistake, it's a good wake-up call." He continued to express faith in Williams' potential, acknowledging the growth he's seen from the young defensive end. McCarthy's words reflect a broader belief in the Cowboys' locker room culture. There's a commitment to supporting players as they learn and grow, but there's also a standard to uphold. Sam Williams' story is not unique in the NFL. It's a reminder of the challenges young players face, both on and off the field, and how teams balance patience with the need for discipline. While this suspension will delay his return to action, it doesn't mean Williams' journey with the Cowboys is over. It could be a lesson he carries forward, adding to his growth as a player and individual. So, what's the plan going forward for the Cowboys' defense? Without Sam Williams and other key players, defensive coordinator Dan Quinn has a challenge on his hands. We're heading into a critical stretch of the season, with matchups against high-powered offenses like the 49ers and Eagles. The Cowboys need to find a way to generate pressure without their top pass rushers. We've seen glimpses of depth stepping up this season, but consistency has been a challenge. Without Williams, the team may look to younger, less experienced players to step up and make a difference. Players like K.J. Henry, who the Cowboys recently added, could see increased snaps as they try to fill the gaps left by injuries and the suspension. Another potential strategy. Dallas may look to lean more on their interior defenders and try blitzing from other positions to compensate for the pass rush deficit. Linebackers and safeties might be called upon to help in pressuring the quarterback, though this approach carries risks in coverage. It's all about balancing the defensive game plan and keeping offenses guessing. As fans, we know how crucial the pass rush has been for the Cowboys' recent success. Without players like Sam Williams and with key injuries to Parsons and Lawrence, the team faces an uphill battle to maintain the defensive pressure we've come to expect. We'll see if adjustments can be made in the coming weeks, but it's clear that the Cowboys' defense has its work cut out. Alright, Cowboys Nation, it's time for you to weigh in. What do you think about the team's current direction? Are you frustrated with the front office's conservative approach, or do you believe in the long-term vision they're pushing? Do you think this team has what it takes to turn things around, or is it time for management to step up and start making some bold moves? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because we want to hear what you have to say. These are the moments where passionate fans like you make your voices heard, and your opinions matter. Let's get a discussion going. After all, we're all in this together, hoping for a brighter future for the Dallas Cowboys. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated with all the latest news and insights, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. Every like and subscription helps us bring you the best Cowboys coverage out there. Thanks for tuning in, and here's to hoping for a strong second half of the season. Go Cowboys!